Just took a bit longer to find my way home. Chapter 5, A Day Out.
We've checked everywhere, sir. The subject is not on base, and his tractor was not only not on him, but when we found it, it was fried.
Stone replied reluctantly. Robotnik let out a cry of anger, turning around to face the large screen in front of him.
He couldn't have gotten far, Doctor. Surely he was too tired to go anywhere.
Stone said, hoping to calm the doctor down. Robotnik turned around and got up in his assistant's face.
He's the fastest thing alive, Stone. He went above 750 miles per hour during the test. His new high is 852 miles per hour. Well above a sonic boom. If he really wanted to, he could have pushed himself. He could be anywhere.
He turned around and slammed a hand onto the table. The last thing he needs is the government finding the troublesome rodent. If he opens his big mouth, they might discover he's had him the whole time, that he lied about not finding the source of the blackout. He takes a few deep breaths. He has to think about this rationally.
The vermin may be fast, but he doesn't have my brains. He may be able to think on his feet, but can he think one step ahead?
Robotnik smirks, an idea forming in his mind.
Stone, fetch the varmint's crude backpack.
Of course, sir. But why?
Whatever was in it was obviously important to him. He had gone back to his little cave where we first found him. We will use it as bait.
Don't you think he might realize it as such?
Stone couldn't help but ask. Robotnik laughed.
You simple-minded fool. I'm not going to use it right away. First, we figure out his location. Once we do, then we act. A little threatening here, maybe a little blackmailing there, and then he'll be back in my hands. And the government won't know a thing.
Stone nodded and left to go retrieve it. Robotnik typed away on his computer, trying to find any residual energy signature of the creature. Anything. A footprint, a quill that had fallen, any traces of unnatural ozone.
I will find you, Hedgehog. You can only hide for so long.
Sonic couldn't help but feel a bit excited as he got into the passenger seat of the police car. Tom gave him a small smile as he put on his seatbelt.
Don't get too excited, buddy. We ain't going to stop a shootout or anything. Hopefully.
Maybe, but we still get to drive around. Ooh, what does this button do?
Sonic asked, leaning forward. Tom quickly pushed his hand away. Tom sighed. He was slowly regretting this. He and Maddie both had work, and they couldn't just leave him alone for hours on end. He was a literal child, a fact both he and Maddie were still trying to wrap their heads around. So, they had agreed that Tom would take Sonic on his morning patrol. Maddie had the afternoon free, so they would switch then. She would give him a quick checkup while she was at it as well, considering how banged up he looked when they first found him. The plan sounded good, great even, except Sonic was a pretty hyper kid, a curious one at that, which was not a good combination. So he sucked in a deep breath and faced the hedgehog.
Okay, I don't mind you hanging out with me this morning, but I am going to have to set down some ground rules. Sound cool with you?
Yes, sir.
Good. First, don't touch any of the buttons.
But what if I need to?
Tom sighed. He was a kid. He had to remind himself that.
You are not allowed to touch the buttons unless I give you permission. Got it?
Got it.
Rule number 2, if I get a call, I need you to be silent so I can hear. Rule number 3, if I do end up needing to assist somewhere, stay in the car. The last thing we need is for people to freak out or overreact and ship you off to a lab somewhere. Capiche?
His last sentence must have really scared the kid because he sunk lower into his seat and nodded.
Yeah.
He frowned a bit, seeing the way the kid had begun to close off and seemingly shut down. His ears flattened on top of his head, and his head was lowered.
Oh, I forgot to mention one more rule. Have fun.
He said as he reached over and ruffled the quills on his head, hoping to lighten the mood. He didn't realize that the kid had frozen under his touch before immediately melting into the soft contact. Nor did he realize the longing that was in the hedgehog's eyes as he took his hand away and instead placed it on the wheel as he began to pull out of his spot on the side of the road. He turned on the radio and quietly began to hum to the song playing. As he drove down the road, every now and then, he would glance at the hedgehog. All he saw was pure wonder and awe on his face as he admired the big city of San Francisco. He decided to try and get to know the kid a bit more while he had the chance.
So, you ever been in a big city before?
No, everything looks so cool.
He exclaimed, his face practically shoved against the window. He shook his head in amusement at the kid's antics.
Where did you used to live?
The kid was quiet. He thought the kid didn't hear him and was about to ask again when he finally responded.
Well, I used to live on a planet called Mobius. Really cool place, but it's been years since I've been there. I don't remember it super well. I spent most of my life on Earth, actually.
How long have you been on Earth?
10 years.
Tom nearly slammed down on the brakes at that revelation. A decade?
Did you have anyone with you?
Nope, just me. Oh, but it was so cool. I lived in this cave in the woods, and it was the best. I owned some comics, had a homemade ping pong table, and the comfiest beanbag chair ever.
Tom could barely concentrate as Sonic kept on rambling about how cool his cave was. Tom knew what Sonic was implying. He had been on Earth since he was a toddler, alone. He had breathed himself, and living in a cave? How did he survive? Surely he didn't interact with any nearby humans. If he had freaked out the first time he met the hedgehog, anyone who could have met Sonic would have done the same. But that also meant that Sonic's previous guardian had passed away when he was really young, and that he had to take care of himself. He spared a few glances at the kid. He didn't seem to notice the man's inner turmoil. His heart went out to the hedgehog.
And I named him Jeffrey. He is the meanest squirrel ever. Not only would he steal my food, I swear he would always taunt me while doing so. I may be the blue blur, trademark pending, but he always managed to outrun and outsmart me.
Okay, so he had missed quite a bit of that conversation.
Sounds interesting, bud.
Oh, you don't even know.
They continued to drive around the city, talking as they went. Well, it was more Tom starting the conversations and Sonic deciding he wanted to take the lead. Not that Tom minded. The kid sure could tell a story. He was funny too. But whenever the kid mentioned something a bit sad, he would get this far-off look in his eyes before quickly shaking his head and moving on to another topic, or continuing what he was saying as if nothing had happened. It worried Tom if he was being honest. Today was a rather quiet day in San Francisco, surprisingly. He hadn't gotten any reports or calls yet, just kept on conversing with Sonic. He would admit Sonic's company was nice. A couple of hours passed. It was almost time for him and Maddie to switch off. He decided to begin heading on over to the vet when he heard a grumble from beside him. He glanced at the hedgehog next to him. The kid looked a bit embarrassed. He was surprised the kid was hungry, considering he had quite a big breakfast. He must have had one heck of a metabolism.
You hungry?
I'm fine.
Tom spotted a pizza place nearby. He could stop for lunch.
I'm thinking pizza. You?
I'm okay, really.
It's almost lunchtime anyway, kiddo. You have a favorite pizza?
I've only ever tried cheese and pepperoni.
Ah, classics. Want to share a large supreme with me?
Tom asked as he parked on the side of the road, right next to the pizza diner.
Sure.
Alright, wait here.
Tom said as he turned off the car, leaving the keys in so the AC and radio remained on. It didn't take him long before he was back in the car with a large pizza. Whatever reservations Sonic had before were gone as soon as the aroma of a fresh out of the oven pizza filled the police cruiser. He took a slice, and so did the hedgehog. He watched as the hedgehog lit up as he took his first bite before scarfing it down. Tom shook his head in amusement.
So, what do you think?
Pizza tastes so much better when it's hot.
Sonic said as he grabbed another slice. Tom froze. Right, he lived in a cave. Getting food probably wasn't easy. It left a bad taste in his mouth. And if Tom let Sonic eat most of the pizza, well, neither of them mentioned it. Napkins were handed out as they wiped their fingers and mouths.
All right, strap yourself in.
Tom said as he started up the car again.
Are we heading over to the vet now?
Yes.
Tom turned off the radio and instead pulled up Spotify on his phone.
Ever heard of Quee?
The hedgehog shook his head. Tom faked a gasp.
Well, we've got to change that.
He replied as he played a song and began to sing as they rode to the vet. Sonic quickly joined in on the fun, trying his best to sing without knowing any of the lyrics. By the time they reached the vet, they were both out of breath from singing and laughing. Tom parked the car and texted Maddie to let her know that she had arrived.
Thanks, Tom. For lunch and talking with me.
Of course, bud. I had fun.
He got out of the car and looked all around it before opening Sonic's door. The hedgehog got out,
All right, follow me.
and the two of them entered the back entrance without being seen. Maddie was there waiting for them.
Thanks, Mads.
Of course. See you tonight.
Sonic said before giving him a quick kiss.
See you later, Sonic.
Bye, Tom.
Sonic called out, waving enthusiastically as he watched the man leave. Now it was just him and Pretzel Lady.
So, what are we gonna do?
I was hoping to do a checkup, just to make sure you're completely fine. Is that all right with you?
She watched as he seemed to freeze up and quietly freak out. He nervously began pulling at his gloves.
Sure.
I promise it will be quick. No shots or sharp things either.
She knelt down so she was eye level with him and held up her pinky. He hesitated before wrapping his own finger around hers. She smiled before letting go and standing back up.
Follow me.
And he did. They walked into an empty exam room, managing to avoid the rest of the staff.
Is it okay if I lift you up?
Sonic nodded. She lifted him up onto the exam table and began the usual. She checked his eyes and ears. She took the stethoscope and listened to his heart, surprised at how fast it was beating. But he seemed fine, and he was an alien. So she assumed it was normal for him.
I want to get a full body scan if that's okay, just so I can make sure there's no internal injuries.
All right.
Wait right here. I'm going to make sure the x-ray room is open.
Will do.
Sonic said with a smile, lightly kicking his feet. Maddie gave him a smile before leaving her room. She approached one of the vet techs.
Hey Mary, is the x-ray and MRI room open?
It should be.
All right, thanks.
Maddie said before walking back to her room. She peeked inside.
Come with me, Sonic.
He jumped off the exam table and followed her to the room. As soon as they walked inside, panic seized his bones. It looked a bit too familiar to one of the experimental rooms the doctor had put him in.
All right, I just need you to... Sonic?
Maddie turned around to face Sonic.
Are you okay?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm okay.
Maddie wasn't convinced.
I promise, it won't hurt.
He still seemed unsure.
Positive?
Maddie nodded.
Super positive.
Sonic hesitantly followed her further into the room. Usually someone else would be in charge of taking x-rays and doing MRIs, but it was best to keep Sonic a secret. Besides, she knew how to work the machinery.
All right, all you have to do is lie still on this table. You see that right there?
She asked, pointing to a big piece of equipment above her. He nodded.
That's going to lower and then move up and down. It won't touch you.
Sonic nodded.
Could you stay with me?
Maddie's heart broke just a bit. He was terrified.
I'm afraid I can't. I have to work the machine, but it will be quick.
He slowly nodded in understanding before lying down. Maddie then walked behind the glass separating the two. Sonic's heart sped up as the machine lowered. Two ominously familiar sounds filled the room. He closed his eyes, and yet, nothing touched him.
All done. You did amazing.
He could hear Maddie say as she approached his side. Sonic opened his eyes. He sat up and began to breathe again.
That's it. Deep breaths.
Maddie wanted to do another scan, but she figured that considering his reaction to the x-ray machine had been a near panic attack, an MRI would be even worse. They left the room shortly after. His x-ray showed no broken bones, which was good. His bone structure certainly was interesting though. On her way back to the exam room, she quickly entered the break room and took something from the fridge. She gently tapped him on the shoulder as she closed the door to the room.
Here, for being so brave.
She said, handing him the candy bar she had been saving for later. Sonic's eyes widened.
Really?
She nodded.
Really.
He broke into a wide smile.
Thanks.
She couldn't help but smile as well.
Of course.